Buick.com right from the start.
WHOW is Central Illinois' ag station, and that includes providing farmers information on how the commodity markets close each day and week. I'm Todd Gleason from Illinois Public Media, University of Illinois Extension, inviting you to hear the daily closing market report weekday afternoons at 5:06, and on Saturdays tune in for Commodity Week with a review of the week's markets at 8:30 in the morning, all on WHOW AM, FM, and streamed online.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
It's the WHOW Morning Show. I'm Ben Hubbard, and we are streaming online all the time, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Once again, I'm Ben Hubbard, and my guest in this segment is Joe Witte, the DeWitt County Board Chair. Joe, how you doing today?
Good, Ben. How are you?
Oh, maybe I should turn the mic on a little better. Maybe put that a little closer to your mouth. Yeah, that arm's a little funky. There we go. That's a little better. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you, Ben?
Good. Thank you so much for asking. Let's kind of get right into it. County board meeting last night, and before we got started, you said it wasn't too bad, wasn't too long, only about an hour, but had a pretty full agenda. Let's kind of jump right into the first thing we talked about, and that's going to be the solar stuff that's going on. Obviously, a hot topic in Clinton. So, what's that looking like at the county level?
Well, we don't have any applications in at this time, so there's no official action on anything related to any specific wind farm per se, or solar farm per se.
Mm-hmm. It's like a Freudian slip, wind farm.
Yeah, that's the last one that we had. We had some wind items on the agenda that we didn't take action on as well. But the one of our ordinances discusses having a road use agreement in place before an application is submitted, and we have one solar farm out near Weldon that was working on finalizing their application, and part of that then is finalizing a road use agreement. So that was on our agenda to approve that road use agreement before they submit an application. And then there was another item for was it I don't remember which one. It was another solar farm that would be closer to Clinton that is anticipating submitting an application. Obviously, if all these applications hit us at once, our zoning department is not staffed to review those. So we have a provision in our ordinance that allows us to go out and get an engineer to assist with the permitting review or the siting permit review.
Yep.
And so, just in anticipation of that, in the near future, we want to at least get an agreement with an engineering firm,
right? So
that if that application comes in, we can hit the ground running and get them going. So those were the two items that we kind of did in anticipation of applications, but nothing official at this point.
Yeah, so Joe, I have the great pleasure to attend the land use meetings and get a little bit more information on kind of what's going on with this. And so I'm interested because at the land use meetings, it talk a lot about, ordinances. How are we going to make sure that these solar farms are being safe and the battery storage is safe? Well, can you speak to any of the ordinances that you guys are kind of thinking about as far as bringing more solar to DeWitt County?
Well, we don't have. I think we had to review the solar ordinance. I think after the state came out with a bill, that kind of outlined the requirements for siting and for decommissioning. So we had to get our ordinance in compliance at that time, and then we took another pass at just trying to address any gaps. Things like reviewing the permitting fees, making sure that if we do get an application that we have the staff, the help. In this case, we got an engineering agreement in place to help with that review. Just knowing that, when you've got a part-time zoning administrator and we get 2-3 applications in a short period of time, there's a lot of requirements in there. So, we took another pass at both the solar and the wind ordinance to make sure that from lessons learned on, the wind farm application from several years ago, we did have one solar application, it was last year. Just what have we learned from that? Where could we make some improvements just to make sure that when we get this next, bunch of applications that, we don't have any, obvious gaps. And, it's a learning process, right? You get an application, you see, okay, maybe we got a little bit of a gap here, we can go back and adjust. But that's kind of what we've spent the last couple of years, at least in the land use, is looking at some of those things. And, I don't think there's anything in the pipeline now. Battery storage is different.
Yep.
we've got a battery storage ordinance in the pipeline, I think going to the ZBA, because that's become more popular in recent years, right? But we have nothing in our ordinance to address that. So, the land use did take up the initial duty of trying to come up with an ordinance, finding a model ordinance somewhere else, and then tailoring it to DeWitt County. So a lot in that space, because there's, Illinois is making a big push to, reduce our reliance on, coal and
Right.
And so they're pushing the solar and the wind, and we've got to be prepared for the inevitable applications.
Yeah. So how much are you guys looking at, ordinances from other central Illinois counties to kind of form what you guys want to do?
We do, and we haven't had to do that recently,
Right.
because the solar application has been in place. I want to say I think that the most recent one was approved over a year ago, or within the last year. When that process happens, it depends on what you're looking at. If you're doing an overhaul, you absolutely look at other counties, but you're going to see a lot of variety from one county to another. You have to obviously look at the state statute now, because that dictates a lot of the setback requirements, noise requirements, and so on. So you have to make sure that you comply with the state statute, that you're not you don't have provisions in there that would make our ordinance invalid. But then beyond that, then you're looking, okay, what do other counties do? Does that make sense for our county? And if there's things that we've learned over the years, we're kind of unique when it comes to wind and the Doppler radar, right? Not every county is that close to the Doppler radar, so maybe they haven't given any thought to it. But it's kind of a unique situation for counties in this area.
Yeah.
So it really depends. You do look at what other counties have done, but every county is unique.
Yeah, definitely. And while we're on the topic of land use, Liz Weichel, the new zoning administrator, I know at the last meeting you guys said that she's kind of moving a little bit. She's maybe flying the nest a little bit from Dee Rentmeister. How's she been doing? Just wanted to know a little update on how it's been going with the new zoning administrator.
Yeah, she's picking up the duties. We have. She was getting some assistance on inspections up until I think beginning of this month, and now she's going solo on inspections. She's it's going to take some time. When you're working part time, you don't have a 40-hour week to get all that training. So she's getting the onboarding, or she has been getting it in smaller chunks. But she's progressing as expected and doing a good job. I think she has started to take on more duties solo, but obviously, Dee Dee, with the knowledge that she's got and the experience that she's got, she's still there in the county to bounce questions off of, and I think Liz is still taking advantage of that, but probably on a lesser extent. Yeah,
definitely. But just wanted to throw that out there. That way you can go back in the recording and say, Liz, look how nice I talked about you on the radio.
Right.
Well, Joe Witte, once again, the county board chair on the WHOW morning show. I also have the great pleasure of going to the public safety meetings. And next thing on the agenda here was the position previously held by Tony Harris at CENTCOM has been filled. Talk a little bit about, what filling that position looked like and what that person's responsibilities are.
Yeah, so the Emergency Telephone System Board, the ETSB board, they took the lead on doing the search for the candidate. They reviewed the applications and handled the interviews, and they brought forward, they have extended an offer to Karen Clevenger. She's a DeWitt County resident from Farmer City. At first, we went back and forth. I say we. It's really the Emergency Telephone System Board and CENTCOM boards that took the lead, but they engaged some of the county committee members, finance, public safety, myself. They went back and forth a couple different ways on how do you find somebody that has all of the qualifications that Tony had to do multiple duties, really. And so they were going to split that into a couple different positions, but we were very fortunate. Karen's got experience that will help fill both of those needs. When I say both, it's really the 911 systems manager that deals with a lot of the equipment, maintaining the software, dealing with the 911 system. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of that, the CENTCOM supervisor dealing with the staffing, the scheduling, and all the duties that go along with that. So she's got great experience in both. I think we were fortunate to find her. What we had to cover last night was really just some of the formalizing the way that position was going to be structured. You know, Tony, when he was in that position, he just took on duties over the years, and it was unclear, who he reported to.
Right.
And so we wanted to get that formally documented in an agreement, and then deal with the funding. The funding for some of that position is coming from multiple sources. Mm-hmm. The ETSB covers the lion's share of that position, but the CENTCOM board, which includes the county, covers a portion as well. Mm-hmm. And so, that was last night, just to finalize some of those documents and get her started. I think it's the end of this month she'll be starting.
Nice.
And we'll be filling a much-needed position.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. And so Tony also used to be the animal control administrator, and since his departure from that role, I know he's been really hands-on in trying to help with like a smooth transition to Grace Moore, the new administrator for animal control. Is he kind of do a similar thing and try and be hands-on in the transition? I don't know, maybe he just misses it after 2.5-hour city council meetings, but is he going to be involved in that transition for the new employee?
Good question. I know that we've got an agreement where he, he could be helping out, more at an hourly rate than as needed.
Right.
I don't know the extent that we've got somebody who has stepped up and is filling some of those duties, in the interim.
Yeah.
How much they are needing to pull Tony in for the 911 and ETSB or the CENTCOM issues. I'm not sure that he's being used extensively at this point.
Yeah.
That's something that you have him there as the safety net, to help with that transition. And thankfully, Tony has been willing to do that. Right?
Yeah.
But we need to become less and less reliant on that,
Right.
And Tony's a good guy. And I know, he'll help out and answer questions when asked, just because he cares a lot about the community. But, we can't keep that agreement going indefinitely. We've got to get people in those positions and learning, just like he did, right? You get your sleeves rolled up and dive in. And obviously that's an important one that we can't let issues slip through. But we've got a lot of experienced people as well that
definitely,
they can work through issues.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this seems like a good place to take a break. Once again, Joe Witte, the DeWitt County Board Chair on the WHOW Morning Show. We'll be right back.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. Corn and beans starting the day slightly lower, and Chicago wheat slightly higher. May corn opening $4.67, down 2 pennies. July corn down 1.5, $4.74. New crop December $4.52 1/4, down 3/4. May beans starting the day $10.09 1/4, down 3 3/4. July beans down 3 1/4. 10.22, and new crop November 10.06, down 4 1/4. May Chicago wheat 5.58 3/4, up 1.5. July wheat opening 5.75 1/4, up 1 3/4. September wheat 5.91 1/2, that's up 1 1/2. May bean meal 2.9720, up 10 cents, and May bean oil 42.38, down 33 cents. Opening numbers on this Friday morning. Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network.
Good morning. I'm Helen McAlassie, and I'm running for mayor of Clinton. Improvement of the city's infrastructure is one of my priorities as mayor. This includes proactive and strategic planning. The design and construction of a new water tower, public safety facility, and city hall will ensure vital services for our community are supported and there when we need them. They're an investment in our future. Clinton is a great city, and when we all work together, we can move Clinton forward together.
Paid for by Michelasi for Mayor.
If the flu's got you down, the Warner Hospital and Health Services Walk-In Clinic inside Family Medicine can help you feel better fast. CEO Paul Skowron inviting you to make us your backup plan to better health. Find out more by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
It's the WHOW Morning Show. I'm Ben Hubbard, and we continue in this segment with Joe Witte, the DeWitt County Board Chair. Joe, let's kind of just get through a little bit of the meat of some of the meeting, just the smaller stuff. You know, I know the marina, you said, got some special use permits. There's been a little bit of a development with that whole project. Give us a little update on the marina.
Yeah, they're making good progress out there with their plans. A lot going on, obviously, with, you know, getting the campground ready, getting septic up to date, things like that. But they did have a couple of special use applications that they submitted a couple months now. They went through the Regional Planning Commission and the ZBA. One was for the restaurant and bar, and another was for retail sales for alcohol. Those, again, went through the special use process, which it goes through the different committees, the Regional Planning Commission and Zoning Board. And they both approved or recommended approval. So that comes to the full board, and those were approved last night. So, you know, had a little bit of conversation with the owner, John Fahey, after the fact and after the meeting. You know, sounds like there's a lot going on there. So it'll be exciting to see, you know, as the 2025 season opens up, you know, and we start to see the vision that he has come, you know, to reality. So part of that is the restaurant and bar, but there's a lot of other things going on. So good progress being made out there, and they've got the permits that they need now to start with the restaurant and bar, and I think he was talking maybe by, I don't know if it'd be, you know, Memorial Day weekend, somewhere in that time frame, we may start seeing some of that come together.
Awesome. And, you know, that's just going to be a great opportunity for tourism in Clinton, bring some people into town. So that's a super exciting thing that it's just going to be a new thing for people to come and do. Yeah,
you know, and I think back when we were talking about selling the marina, there was, you know, we had some folks out there who were not thrilled about that idea. I think to see what he's done in the short time and what he has planned, you know, I still think it was a good thing for DeWitt County, right? It'd be very tough for county government to get on the same page, have that vision, and make all this happen. And so, you know, I'm still hopeful that, you know, Mr. Fahey, you know, he can really make that a great destination for DeWitt County. And, you know, he's moving right along. So
yeah,
very impressive.
Definitely, and that's super exciting for the county and the city of Clinton. Well, let's kind of move on to, you know, this was kind of a big deal at the county board meeting last night, and that is that Tom Ferris announced that he is stepping down from his position. Can you give us, maybe for anyone who doesn't know, kind of who is Tom Ferris to the county board, and what kind of comes next after he steps down?
Yeah, Tom Ferris was elected District C. It's, you know, Texas Township, you know, the Creek Township, some of the southern and eastern part of the county. He did offer a letter of resignation. We have to, you know, for personal reasons. He was the vice chair of public safety, was on our property committee, valuable member for, you know, especially for animal control. I know he did a lot in that space. So, yeah, we've got a gap there now. We had to officially, per statute, we had to declare that vacancy, and then notify the various parties, the committees, you know, the Democratic committee, the Republican committee. The Republican committee has the right to name somebody, you know, for the board's consideration to fill that seat temporarily, and then there would be a special election next April, I believe, to fill that spot, because there was more than 28 months remaining in that term. So, you know, we'll fill it temporarily, you know, depending on the Republican committee and who they bring forward, and then there would be a special election about a year from now to fill that for the remainder of the term. But yeah, it's you know, something that we'll just have to kind of wait and see how that progresses. And in the meantime, you know, District C is, you know, underrepresented. We've got 3 representatives from each district, and so now we're going to have to fill that one just so we can get District C represented on all our committees again.
So is when the Republican party, when they get to just like pick whoever is going to take that spot on an interim basis, does that person have to represent District C, or does it not matter?
No, it matters. So there's residency requirements. It would have to be somebody who resides in that district.
Yeah.
The Republican Party we'll bring forward the name. I think it's ultimately the board that has to vote on filling that seat with that individual. But I think the Republican Party wants good representation in there, and they're going to do their due diligence. So, we're eager to see who might fill that spot, but we got to let them do their thing and look for a qualified candidate, and we'll see what comes in the coming months. But yeah, for the short term, we're going to be underrepresented in District C. Hopefully we can get that spot filled in the near term, in the near future, but we obviously don't want to rush that either. So.
Right. Yeah, got to make sure that they pick the right person, and I'm sure we're going to get all the exciting updates as they come. Let's kind of jump into our last topic here, and this is a new thing in DeWitt, the DeWitt County government, and that's the IT and Compliance Ad Hoc Committee. Tell me a little bit about what this committee is. Is there something specifically that made you guys want to create it?
Yeah, so this came up even before the last elections where we had new board members seated. We discussed this under Chairman Matthews, that there was a need for some of this. And, so we took action when we reorganized to establish the ad hoc committee for a period of 1 year. And if we need to extend it, we can. But it was really to look at, one, our ordinances from the compliance standpoint. Do our ordinances reflect how we are operating? Do we need to modify some things there? Do they comply with state statutes in all cases, or do we need to make some updates? Because, our ordinances tend to, once they're in place, they don't get revisited often, right? And so there's some
out-of-date ones
start to, to vary from, reality. And so we wanted to look at that. But from an IT perspective, there's a lot that changes quickly in IT, right? And we don't have an IT person hired for the county, right? We rely on contractors, and we have had some feedback, about our previous IT contractor, and ultimately we went a different direction. But now that they've gotten into to see how things are put together, they've got some recommendations on some problem areas. And so that's kind of what our last meeting was focused on from the IT and compliance. It was more of a technology review. We had Hart Technology, who is now handling all of our systems and software. They had some recommendations. They showed some vulnerabilities, and they showed really we have a lack of policies that deal with a lot of what happens in the event of a cyber attack or ransomware or something like that. We you don't want to have to try to on the fly come up with a way to handle with that. So we need to get some policies in place. Hart Technology then could kind of provide some recommendations on where we go and how maybe where we need to make some budgeting decisions in the coming years to get things up to snuff. But yeah, there's a lot that has been, I won't say neglected. We've just gone off the recommendations of our prior consultant, and we just need to make some adjustments, I think.
And so it sounds like right now the kind of the job of this committee is kind of get your footing, figure out everything that needs to be fixed now. Do you know of any long-term goals for this committee?
Yeah, let's say long-term, we were established for a 1 year period, hoping that was going to be enough time to kind of to understand where our vulnerabilities are, where we need to make some improvements. We'll see what kind of progress. We got a lot of the year left to do that, but longer term, we want to get our IT infrastructure. We want to have policies in place that kind of govern, how we deal with our infrastructure, our software. Maybe some things go to the cloud. We got to kind of look at things exhaustively, and then nothing happens quickly, right? You're going to have to over time budget for any changes, and that will be a multi-year process, I think. But it's something that we need to look at and start planning for.
Definitely. Well, and I'm sorry that we got to wrap up our interview here. Once again, Joe Witte, the DeWitt County Board Chair. Thanks so much for taking time for me today, Joe.
Well, thank you, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, it's the WHOW Morning Show. Our next guest in our next segment will be Joey Long, the director of the C.H. Moore Homestead and DeWitt County Museum. It's the WHOW Morning Show. We'll be right back.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM